To kick off this track today, we are going to have a keynote panel starting off called Workplace Connection and Community. So I'd like to welcome the group onto the stage, Martyn Swinkels, Elaine Obeng, and Meng Jiang.
Well, good afternoon to you all. I trust you had a good lunch and you are ready for the first of a series of sessions this afternoon. Thank you, Kate, for the introduction. Welcome to our session. Welcome to our culture and community session. I am really, together with Elaine and Meng, we're really thankful that you've chosen to spend some time with us this afternoon. The aim of today's session is to share a few learnings and insights over I'd say 24 to 36 months, 2 to 3 years, in how connection and community can actually help in uncertain times. We've all experienced an enormous amount of sudden change back in March 2020, and 3 years on, we're still dealing with ongoing uncertainty. A time where familiar networks and connections are turned upside down, we want to share some of the insights and the learnings and the steps and the decisions that Product Madness made to continue to strengthen the bond between community and culture. You've met Product Madness. You had a quick taster of our culture through the video, but that's not all that meets the eye. Pizza, yes, pizza, games, plenty of coffee, all kinds of other activities are all part of our gaming culture. That's true. But as I said, there's a lot more than meets the eye. It's a great place to work, for sure. We work hard, we play hard. Being new to the gaming industry, myself, I joined in October of last year. I'm impressed with the level of activities, social interventions, and everything else that Product Madness actually organizes. I spent 5 years working in e-commerce and fashion, and I thought at that time, we were working hard and play hard, but at Product Madness, it's a totally different level. That said, that's not the reason why we're here up in stage. I actually think that LinkedIn marketed our session as improving the gaming industry culture, so that's why we're here. But before we do that, I want to introduce you to my colleagues.
Hello everyone, my name is Elaine Obeng. I am the Global Studio Experience Lead, or Workplace Lead, and I have a team of workplace coordinators globally who make Product Madness the best place to work.
And hello everyone, I'm Meng, and I head up our Global Learning and Development Department. So my job is all about inspiring all of our employees to fall in love with learning, to be mad for learning. And we run various different initiatives and development and training programs to help with that, starting from things like leadership and management training all the way through to specific, tailored and sort of technical training programs.
And finally, my name is Martyn Swinkels. I'm the Director of Global Employee Experience and Operations. As I said, I joined in October of last year, so I'm relatively new to the gaming industry and to Product Madness. And ultimately, I'm in charge of providing and creating an ultimate and a wonderful employee experience. Probably and hopefully in a few years' time, the best in the industry.
My turn.
Yes.
So, now that we've introduced ourselves, I'll tell you a bit more about our mad story. So Product Madness has actually been around for quite some time. We were founded in 2007, as it says on the slides. We have over 800 employees in 7 global studios. We are a top grossing leader in social casino mobile games, entertaining millions of players around the world every single day. With 6 successive standout games, live ops, and a growing number of development studios across the world. We've been very fortunate to have gone through a period of tremendous growth in the last 2 years, despite the challenges, such as the war in Ukraine that directly affected us, as we have a studio in Ukraine, and also, of course, the global pandemic.
So Elaine just talked about our growth during some very challenging times. And what has actually contributed to this growth was essentially inspired by this quote. So it's from Mr. Pablo Picasso himself, where he said, "Every act of creation first begins with an act of destruction." And so that's how he once described his creative processes. So whilst I'm sure the pandemic was a time of destruction and chaos for many of us, for Product Madness, it actually also provided a real opportunity for us to essentially reset and grow and recreate. So as an example, gone were the days where we spent 5 days out of 7 in the office next to our teammates, but instead we sort of had teammates dispersed all over the globe. So no wonder we've seen countless articles and reports in the media citing things like disconnection, isolation, and how that's essentially impacted personal well-being. So as leaders of an organization, we were expected to give clarity and direction during this time of upheaval, right? That's a fair request, I think. But to be honest, we didn't really have the answers, unfortunately. Our own sense of truth and the reality were hugely disrupted as well. So as uncomfortable as it was, we still didn't rush into giving any answers away. We actually spent a lot of time turning inwards and really focused on what mattered to us. And for us, that was our employees. We ran regular engagement surveys, so employee engagement surveys, which also then led to things like focus groups. We also emphasised the importance of having regular one-to-ones with our sort of team leaders and team members, as well as ensuring that we encouraged people to have peer-to-peer connections and interactions as well. And last, we ran a number of virtual and in-person events, social events, where we were able to receive lots of candid feedback. And through all these various data points, we found that, unsurprisingly, during the sort of the difficult period that we went through, people craved for connection and this sense of community the most. They wanted to feel like they were part of something bigger than themselves. But perhaps what was a little bit a bit more surprising rather, was that at the heart of connection and community lay 5 core sort of elements. The first one is all around stories and how we sort of tell those and share those stories amongst all of us. The second one is communication and how we use common language amongst us. The third one is all about symbols and how we articulate and tangibly anchor us and bring us together. The fourth one is rituals. And essentially it allows us, the rituals that we follow that regularly binds us together. And the last but not least is our ambassadors, who essentially help to drive our culture forward. So when we were preparing this presentation as well, we also did a huge amount of research. And one of the things that we discovered as well was that, this is how these 5 elements are also the foundational blocks to how national communities and national cultures are built. I'll let Martyn and Elaine elaborate a little bit further on each of these areas. So stories.
Thank you, Meng. Yeah, so how do we create a sense of community when everyone's dispersed all over the world? Complementing or building on from Yuval's quote, people communicate through stories. It's how human mankind learns, passes on knowledge, and ultimately it's how we become the most dominant species on planet Earth. The key results that stories deliver is actually shared experiences, despite the physical boundaries. This is what binds people together and what creates the connection. So at Product Madness, we started to look at and hone in on employee experience and incorporating the employee voice in everything that we did, in various aspects of our culture, but also in some of the other aspects that Meng quoted before. Elaine will elaborate a little bit further on.
Yeah, so I'm going to take you through language. So as this quote says on here, language is very important when creating communities, and it actually derives from a similar common root. The use of language has become more important than ever as we navigate these complex global challenges. At Product Madness, we grew during a very unstable time, and we prioritized being more connected through words. This led us to, for the first time, articulating our 5 guiding principles, or our core values, which I'll take you through. So first of all, we are people first. So people are at the heart of everything we do. We're really passionate about the people in our organization. Secondly, we are globally inclusive. So that means no matter where we are in the world, we are connected and we are together. Mad for more, we are all mad, but also we are always striving to do more together and collaborate in a really good way. Champion together is all about our achievements as a team. We love to achieve as a team and celebrate as a team as well. Customer focus, ensuring that we have high quality experiences, not only for our players, but also for our internal customers or ourselves as well. So these powerful words, or these 5 core principles that is our common language, led to us rethinking our brand identity. So I'll take you to the next slide where I'm going to discuss our vortex of madness. Thanks, Martyn. So we're going to talk about symbols. So something that's quite important. A second. Something that's quite important is symbolism in creating a community. So basically, as you can see on this slide, we have our brand new fantastic logo with 5 different sections to it, as you can see. Each section of the logo actually represents our culture and our values and what connects us. And then also from that, we've actually drilled down to do something quite cool with our logo, and not just have it represent us globally, but also celebrate our local communities that we've created. So all our different locations around the world. So we've got Lviv, we've got London on there as well. So this symbol is very important for us. In addition to that, we've also created other symbols. So we've created symbols that go beyond our geographical borders. We have fantastic learning programs. So each cohort builds its own sense of community through shared experiences, stories, and their own language. And as a result, we've created really cool pin badges that Meng's wearing there that we share with all our different learners as well. So now that we've explored stories, language, and symbols, Martyn will take us through the next points around our rituals.
Yes, thank you, Elaine. So how can we translate all of these experiences into meaningful outcomes? The answer for Product Madness was to review our rituals or processes and procedures, or in other words, our ways of working. Clarity around these will help create stronger behaviors. So we introduced weekly town hall, we introduced all hands monthly meetings, where all our employees from across the world, departments and functions, come together and share their stories, what they're working on, what are their priorities, what are their blockers, what have they learned, and what are they seeing. In addition, we created a set of rituals to allow our employees to reflect on these experiences by giving time back. So we introduced a Zoom-free Wednesday, we introduced speedy 30-minute meetings, and we gifted days off. And finally, we invited a cross-selection of employees across the business to create and define processes and help us build connections and communities, because we believe that they were closely connected to employees and teams around the world. And Meng will continue on that further.
Yeah, and I mentioned the 5th pillar, or the 5th element to this were ambassadors. So everything we've talked about, the stories, the language, the symbols, and the rituals, they all need people at the center of it. The people, the believers, the promoters, the role models, the advocates, whatever name you want to call them, they're the people driving it forward. Even, again, when we think about national cultures, it's the leaders and the ambassadors who help us, 1, understand the culture, 2, demonstrate it, and 3, help us along the way if we get a little bit lost. So at Product Madness, we ensure all of our employees understand that they all have an individual responsibility and a duty to be a cultural guardian, but it's also our people managers and leaders who are our key drivers. we set up an operational leadership team. And so these are essentially made up of individuals who represent the different voices and perspectives from across the business. So whether they're in different locations, different departments, or represent different games. So when we have a meeting, which is usually every fortnight, it sometimes feels like a mini UN meeting. And it's these group of leaders are working alongside with our senior leadership team who create and define the rituals and ways of working. They also help us communicate our stories and use the relevant language and symbols to ensure all of our employees feel a true part of the Product Manners community. And so, some of you might be sitting there and thinking, that's all well and good, but COVID is kind of over now. We've got new challenges to face. So what's Product Manners going to do to tackle those? And to be honest, the answer is still very much the same answer that we had in 2020. We still don't know what we don't know, and there are still loads more uncertain times ahead. But what we do know is that we trust in our process and in our philosophy. And that is all about putting our people first and really listening to them. So this becomes our starting point for designing our initiatives with which we're then going to be experimenting with. So that crystal ball up there shouldn't really be a crystal ball, but rather more something that's akin to like a megaphone for our employees to really elevate their voice. So I leave you with this question. What are you going to do to build your culture and your community in these uncertain times ahead? We've been Product Manners. Thank you for listening, and we can open the floor up for any questions.
Thank you.
Timing is perfect. So are there any
One
questions?
Any questions?
Comments or observations can equally.
How do you apply to a job at Product Manners?
That's not really our remit. But if you speak to, so the question was, how do you apply for a job at Product Manners, given everything we shared? If you come and visit our stalls, we've got a stall somewhere in the conference. G13, and come see one of these people dressed in blue. They're hard to miss, and they can tell you more. Oh, and or follow this yellow bolt, Zappy. Any other questions?
We have a fantastic career website, of course.
It's true.
That's it. That's the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you very much, everyone.